it's Jack and Ross from Cultaholic back again with the wrestling news on a Tuesday morning. Ross, how's your Tuesday morning?
It's absolutely bog standard.
That's fair enough. You said you were talking about some hot dog eating competition to Tom upstairs that you were watching, and there was a runaway favourite.
There was, and I've forgotten his name. I wish you would have prepared me for that question.
Did he win?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
Chestnut. Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut.
Remember the name.
Google him, and then after that, unpause this video and listen to these headlines. First of all, John Cena's post-SummerSlam plans have been revealed. Keith Lee says he's going to explain his recent WWE absence. And finally, we take a look at reports that WWE will be returning to Saudi Arabia very soon. More on that in just a bit. So yes, first of all, with all the it feels like there's been all kinds of returns recently, or rumoured returns at least. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, The Rock, who we're going to probably mention a little bit later on.
The Yeti.
Huh?
The Yeti.
The Yeti. What?
Yeah, you're coming back.
You joking?
He's coming for you.
Okay. John Cena is another name who obviously has returned. He's already been confirmed. We saw him at Money in the Bank and on Raw and SmackDown as well. And WWE announced yesterday, I assume, that John Cena will be appearing on the Friday, September 10th episode of SmackDown at Madison Square Garden. Now, this is special for one main reason, Ross, basically. It's because it's the first post-SummerSlam appearance that Cena has been announced for. What could it mean?
It could mean, Jack, or it should mean, that the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, will single-handedly, not single-handedly, multiple-handedly, with the help of Jimmy and Jane Paul, beat John Cena, because you can't have the champion win and then not turn up until, 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
He's not Brock Lesnar. You won't do that to us, will you, John?
I don't
Please,
think,
John.
I don't think he would, but it would seem to imply that Roman Reigns is probably going to, unless they've kept previous dates a secret, perhaps closer to SummerSlam, but it sounds like this is the first one that he's been booked for since SummerSlam, which you're right, it would just seem to, all signs would point to the fact that Roman Reigns will surely win, and then Cena will take a little time off and then come back and go, oh, I'm not done yet, or I'm going after another person instead. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm not quite certain. It's advertised as a super show, so it is quite a big one. It's a Madison Square Garden co-branded, dual-brand event.
I saw on some sort of advert another return was advertised as a part of this super show on September the 10th, an episode of SmackDown, and that was the legit bus, Sissy Banks. Do you remember that one?
Sissy Bunks.
Sissy Bunks. I
Sissy
said it
Bunks.
wrong.
She obviously took some time off after. Have we seen her since she lost her title?
I don't think so. WrestleMania, the old whip that was heard around the world, and then around the world once again, which was absolutely devastating. Well, she was at that awards do where WWE paid for that award.
Yes.
In their own honour with Bianca Belair.
yeah. That was good. But
not
she's
cool,
there. She's been about.
Yeah.
We've seen her, just not
on SmackDown.
As part of the product itself, no. I did mention The Rock slightly earlier. He's actually dismissed returns talk to WWE. He said, no, that's not what's going on. He was speaking to Entertainment Tonight alongside his Jungle Cruise co-star Emily Blunt. And basically, well, I was about to pass it over very professionally and go, what did he say, Ross? But I've just seen it. Go on then.
There's nothing.
That's what The Rock said. Then wait for this piece of banter from Emily Blunt, right? She's clearly very, very funny. She said she's going to be forming a tag team with The Rock and said it's going to be me and him and there's going to be a big fight. I'm guessing The Rock and Emily Blunt were both tired that morning because they don't seem to have had much about them.
Blunt by name, blunt by nature. That's what I'm reading from that there. Because her and The Rock tag teaming together. Why not bring back the mixed match challenge with the centrepiece The Rock and Emily Blunt, who I do believe is married to Jim Halpert from The Office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Big John Krasinski with his fancy second name.
You can't marry a man like that and not be funny. I feel bad now for suggesting that she wasn't. I'm sure it's just a bad day.
I think that's true. My sources, unconfirmed reports there.
Fair enough. Does this mean anything? The fact that The Rock's denied rumours that he's going to be going back, or is he just being a...
It's exactly what someone would say who is coming back but didn't want people to know, just to get a bigger pop than a certain other return that happened very recently indeed. I'll pop you, John Cena, says Dwayne.
It's not made me too pessimistic with regards to The Rock coming back, especially with all the reports that he's going to be in a storyline involving Roman and the Usos and everything. It seems...
And the fact they haven't taken Jimmy off TV, because apparently what Jimmy's doing now is going to factor into The Rock's return and then to WrestleMania 38 next year.
Absolutely. Someone on the current roster who was recently absent, was Keith Lee. Now we saw him on last week's Raw when he was losing to Bobby Lashley, but it was never really explained why he was away. It could be a personal thing. We might never know. But Keith Lee seems to imply that we might know very soon. What's he been saying?
He's taken to his Twitter account last night and said, "I've decided I'm just going to tell you guys the story myself. Give me a week or two." So what this means, I have no idea. I think he was on... Was he on last night's Raw? I haven't seen last night's Raw, Jack. He hasn't either. He might be on last night's Raw losing to somebody.
It's the morning.
Unconfirmed reports. Yeah. It's very early in the morning here.
But this tweet seems to imply... Well, the story I'm assuming he means is the reason he's been away.
I think it was the end of January he was gone, and then obviously made his big return to Raw was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Time is a mystery to me these days.
In recent weeks.
Where he had the match against Bobby Lashley. It wasn't a squash match. He broke the master lock, for goodness sake, Jack.
Yeah, it wasn't a squash match, but it was a fairly quick loss, though. I mean, you can't expect someone to batter the WWE champion.
It wasn't a carrying cross against Jeff Hardy.
No, it wasn't.
No stretch of the imagination.
It certainly wasn't. I'm wondering if this is going to be some sort of musical production, or whether it's just going to be he needs time to gather his thoughts if it's something very serious. Because it's hard to tell. We don't know how serious this is at all. But
a musical production.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because Wrestle and Flow, Josiah Williams.
Yes.
He replied saying, "If you need my help, hit me up." But I don't know if he's got any other skills besides music. Does he film stuff? Maybe I don't know. But I don't know. I just know that Keith Lee's a musical man as well. He used to do his own theme on the Indies, so like Dennis Wharton. So I don't know. Oh, that was a dated.
I've got a good idea. Ba, 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 ba. Just you keep me near. I'll be so Keith for you.
This next news story, as you were singing, I was just reading ahead. I can't get my head around it. This is from Lights Camera Pod, and they seem to suggest that a Vince McMahon drama is being produced, titled "The United States of America versus Vince McMahon," in development from WWE and Blumhouse as well. I'll read the press release and then I'll throw to you for your thoughts. I can't sort mine out. I don't know what I think of this. The press release says the show will delve into WWE during the 1990s, at the time Rupert Murdoch had purchased the New York Post to further his massive infiltration into the US media landscape. For years, infamous Post writer Phil Mushnick regularly hammered WWE chairman and CEO Vince McMahon in his column. Headlines like "Legislators give WWE a free pass on roids" and "McMahon skips through the cemetery," eventually capturing the attention of the FBI and the US Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the nation's most prestigious federal prosecutor's office, with a conviction rate of over 96%. In '94, the US government indicted McMahon for allegedly supplying anabolic steroids to WWE talent. McMahon, with his liberty at stake, 2 school-aged children at home, and with WWE on the brink of bankruptcy, refused to take a plea deal. Ultimately, McMahon stood trial and was acquitted unanimously by a jury of his peers, and went on to build a multi-billion-dollar global sports entertainment, global empire sports.
Now, Owen, if you're editing this, which I do believe you are, when he starts reading that going full flow, I want a slow zoom on his face, and I want dramatic music, royalty free, of course, in the background, because that plot, while it is based on real life, it sounds like a movie that was thought up in somebody's head.
It sounds like, yes, it's very one-sided, isn't it?
It's going to be... one thing we know is that when WWE is involved, the narrative that the company want to push is going to be at the forefront of whatever's being produced. We saw the Ultimate Warrior documentary very recently indeed, and how that one went down. I'm just thinking about Stephanie McMahon and that quote she said way back in the day.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the philanthropy being akin.
No, not that one. The other one.
Oh, the one about
9/11.
Her father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be very much in that vein.
Speaking of governments, the WWE... well, that was a weird segue. But speaking of governments, Andrew Zarian of Mat Men, I believe, thinks that WWE are going to be heading to Saudi Arabia soon. He said he heard from a source that they'll be heading back in October if there are no restrictions at the time, possibly the 21st of October, but that is far from confirmed. What do you think of this?
I think there's a 10-year deal being penned 3 years ago now. Is it 3? Are we into the 3rd year?
I can't even think.
Or is it the 4th year?
It might be 4,
It might be the 4th. 2018 was the first one.
2020, but obviously nothing in 2020, so does that roll over?
Maybe. I've got no idea what the ins and outs of the deal are, so there we go. We're in year 3 or 4 of the deal. It's what's going to happen. 2 shows a year, I think it is, these days, so we're going to get at least one this year, hopefully, because everyone loves the Saudi Arabia show, especially Bray Wyatt and all Bray Wyatt's fans.
Well, setting aside all of the huge socio-economic and political controversy that even having these shows throws up into the world and into the discussion, and of course that's a very complex thing, But setting all that aside, I love them. I love the shows because they're so stupid and weird stuff happens on them. Like, they're really good. Shane McMahon winning and stuff like that is great.
Yeah, he beat Roman Reigns, didn't he?
With the help of Drew McIntyre.
He beat Roman Reigns. That's what the history books will read. But of course, we'll make some good out of a weird situation on WWE's Pop by doing a charity stream, no doubt. So make sure, if you don't want to watch the pay-per-view itself, watch us watching the pay-per-view, raising money for a good cause.
Absolutely. And check us out later on. We'll probably be back with a second news video as well. And leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you very soon.
And if you have the contact details of one Joey Chestnut, please holla.